Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have another bizarre case for you. Case is about 17-year-old Brittanee Drexel, and for some reason when I first heard of this case, I saw her photo and I thought I have seen her before somewhere. She looks so familiar, but yeah, I don't know, did anybody else have this feeling? Either way, it's very sad, and yeah, let's get into it. So, she was a 17-year-old girl from Rochester, New York, and she was a high school junior. She was described as sweet, fun-loving, charming, just a good girl. She loved her family and her younger siblings, and she had college in mind, and she was already thinking about a career. So yeah, she also had a boyfriend named John. From what I know about him and my research, he's a really good guy and they loved each other. So Brittanee and her family had been going through a little bit of hard times. Her parents were getting divorced and this had an impact on her. She had started to sleep late, she was skipping school, she seemed uninterested and depressed, as many of us know with family issues this can be the case. So 17 is a hard age in itself, you know, and then she had this divorce on her mind, so she was feeling stressed out and she kind of just wanted to get away, you know, it makes sense. So Brittanee had heard that a bunch of people from her high school, mostly seniors, were going to a trip in Myrtle Beach, a spring break trip. It was kind of a tradition, and she really wanted to join. You know, she thought that this would help ease her stress, and she wanted to get away from the cold weather and just sit by the beach. So she asked her parents, and as good parents, you know, they told her it's not a good idea, there's no supervision, you know, it's 14 hours away, so it ain't happening. So, of course, at 17, you know, you're so close to 18, you just long for freedom, and she was upset about it, so, you know, as most teenagers would be. So, a few days later, she asked her mom again if she could go, and her mom still was adamant and said no. So Brittanee said, okay, well, what if I go to my friend's house for spring break? You know, can I at least do that? Her mom thought it was totally innocent, and she thought, okay, no big deal. So Brittanee had other plans, unfortunately. She never went to her friend's house. Instead, her and her friends packed up her bags and began their 14-mile journey to Myrtle Beach. So, as a teenager, you know, you're kind of naive, you do what you want, you don't listen to your parents, you know. When we're 17, we think we're invincible, and this was Brittanee, you know. She thought, you know, to hell with it, I'm just gonna have some fun. It's totally innocent. But everything starts to go downhill. But on the first days, it was fun. You know, they had fun at the beach. They were enjoying the warm weather, you know, dining out, exploring the city, just having fun. But it doesn't last. So within a few days, a group of the people that Brittanee went with had started using drugs, and this was not her scene. You know, she wasn't a drug user. She didn't like this. So she started to withdraw herself and alienate herself from these people. And so she would walk to the beach herself. She would go to restaurants herself, just walk around the city. And at the time, you know, 17 years old, you're so naive, you have no idea how dangerous this really is, to be a young girl by yourself in a huge city. It's just not a good idea. So one of Brittanee's friends were actually staying at a different hotel from her. It was about a mile away, and since she was kind of pissed with her other friends, she thought, okay, I'm just gonna go here for the night and hang out with some people who are not doing drugs. And so she did. So as she was getting ready to go, she grabbed a pair of shorts from her hotel room that were on the bed, and they apparently belonged to her friend. So she put the shorts on, got ready, and went to her other friend's hotel. So within minutes of arriving at her friend's hotel, Brittanee's friend texted her and demanded that she bring her shorts back because her friend wanted to wear them herself, and she was adamant about this. So, Brittanee kind of felt guilty and said, okay, I will bring them back. But again, this is 1 mile away. You're walking on the strip. It's spring break time, it's just, you shouldn't be alone. But again, at 17, we don't really know better. So Brittanee was spotted on the surveillance camera leaving the hotel of her friends. So on her way back to the other hotel she was staying at, she was texting her boyfriend John, saying that she was miserable and she actually was just going to stay at her hotel and go to sleep when she got there. And her boyfriend, responded back, and about 15 minutes go by. Now, her boyfriend kind of started to get a little worried. He knew she was walking by herself, and he was like texting her, hey, what's up? Did your phone die? What's going on? No response. So about 30 to 40 minutes go by, and John says, okay, you're worrying me. If you don't respond back and tell me you're okay, then I'm going to call your mom and tell her where you really are. So I think he did this in hopes of trying to scare her back to the conversation. She really didn't want her mom to find out, so he thought she would reply. However, she did not. John never heard from Brittanee again. So he followed through, as he said, and he called her mom, and he fessed up and said, okay, she's in Myrtle Beach, she went there. He explained what happened, and then he says, I can't get a hold of her, it's been an hour, and I'm worried. So I can only imagine what her mom was thinking. Her daughter is 14 hours away in a different state by herself, and now no one has heard from her. I mean, she must have been terrified. So everybody is trying to call Brittanee at this point. They're texting, they're calling her, and it is just silent on the other end. She doesn't pick up, and no one hears from her. So they have no choice but to file a missing persons report with Myrtle Beach Police Department, and they did. So the police got on this, and there was no clues for the first couple of hours, and they decided to check her phone records and to see if they could ping her location, and they do. Unfortunately, this is a huge red flag for the police. Her location was pinged about 8 miles away from her last location, and they knew that she wouldn't walk 8 miles, It was going south of Myrtle Beach into the back roads, into the smaller towns, the country of this area, and they automatically knew that this was not a good sign because, she is a tourist, she's a spring breaker, she's not going to go into one of the small towns, It's just not going to happen. And they haven't heard from her, but somehow she's in a vehicle 8 miles away. So they're pinging her phone and they're seeing the location, and unfortunately it just becomes worse. Her phone pings about 50 to 60 miles away by the next morning. So her phone pinged to a location called Georgetown, and this is country living. This is dirt roads, this is swamps, this is thick forest. Not a place where she would go willingly. It's just not. According to locals, it's filled with alligator pits, swamps, you have wild hogs, you have snakes, you have boars, panthers. It's real, rugged terrain, and it's just not a good sign that her location was pinged here. But the police do a search. They have dogs, they have sonar for the lakes, they have horses, they have bloodhounds, they have people on foot, just the works. And they continue the search for weeks, but still no sign of Brittanee. So, unfortunately, sadly, 7 years go by. 7. And there's been no sign of Brittanee, no witness reports, no activity on her phone, no sightings, just nothing. And her parents, of course, are fearing the worst. You know, the police don't have any leads to go on. It's incredibly frustrating until a witness comes forward, actually a prison inmate, and he says that he knows what happened to Brittanee Drexel and that he was there on the night of her abduction. So here's what the witness said. So the witness said that he went to a stash house or a drug house. Apparently this is a rundown house where people go to make drug deals or other illegal businesses. Just a sketchy place and some place where no young woman would go. However, this man claims that he went there and he met outside with a man named Sean Taylor. They were doing some kind of business and they went inside for a few minutes. This witness said as he went inside, he saw with his own eyes that Brittanee was in one of the rooms and she was being sexually assaulted by multiple men. Now, this kind of thing happens all the time, especially, you know, in rough areas where, you know, you have this hidden house. I mean, I really believe what this witness is saying. The witness claims that one of the men assaulting Brittanee was named Deshaun Taylor, and he is the son of Sean Taylor, the man who he met with outside. And he said that there were about 7 other men who were doing horrible things to this poor girl. And the witness says he went back outside to finish his business, and as he was outside with Deshaun Taylor, or Sean Taylor, one of them, he claims that Brittanee had escaped briefly. He said he saw her run out of the house, but she didn't get far. The men were chasing her, and they caught her, sadly. They brought her back into the house, and Sean, or Deshaun Taylor, the father and son, they both went inside, and the man stayed outside, and he said he heard 2 gunshots, and he assumed then that Brittanee was dead. So this man also claims that many other men had said that she was being sold and that she had been a hostage for days, or weeks, ever since the time of her disappearance. So it just makes me sick. I really cannot imagine what her life was like in the last weeks, you know? It's just horrible. So the witness says that someone told him that the way that they disposed of her was by putting her in a marshy swamp area filled with alligators. Again, this would make sense because the area that they were in was surrounded by swamps and surrounded by alligators. So once this witness came forward and told the FBI and the police this, they did their own investigation of the swamps again. They searched the areas again, but no sign of Brittanee. And they believe his story. They believe that Sean and Deshaun Taylor had something to do with this because they had really sketchy backgrounds. You know, they had been arrested for kidnapping and assaults and robberies, you know. So it would kind of make sense if what he's saying is true. So something interesting to know. Brittanee's father, Chad, was in the area where Brittanee was missing, and he was passing out flyers to the locals and to the cars. And he was with his private investigator. So as Chad was trying to pass the flyers to one car, he noticed the car wouldn't really stop or slow down. So Chad kind of got in its way and forced the car to stop. And he said, "Hey, I'm looking for my daughter, have you seen her? Here's a flyer." And apparently the man driving the car just looked at Chad and laughed and didn't seem to care. He's giggling, and the private investigator backs up this story. He witnessed it. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The man driving the car apparently had no left arm. So this is a pretty distinguishable characteristic of somebody. It's not so common that someone is missing their arm. It turns out that Deshaun Taylor has no left arm. I mean, come on. So, not only that, but the private investigator and Chad had identified this man in the car as Deshaun Taylor, the one who laughed and threw the paper out of the window and drove away. So, this is all of the evidence that we have in this case so far. The police and the FBI are still working on it. They really believe that they can bring justice to her and that they are very close to making an arrest, and hopefully justice will be served. This is just kind of a very sad lesson to women and young girls everywhere that we don't seem to be safe anywhere that we go. We can't even walk on a sidewalk without the fear of something happening, and this is why I encourage, my friends and other girls out there to carry weapons on them. Pepper spray, even a taser or a knife or a gun if it's legal in your state and you have a permit. I would totally encourage you to do this. I do this myself. Anyways, I hope I didn't scare you guys too much. I know this story is really just heartbreaking. I cannot imagine how her parents feel and her boyfriend. It's just the worst thing I could ever think of. But I think justice will be served, and hopefully soon. So if you guys enjoyed these videos and other videos like this, let me know, what do you think happened to her? Do you believe this witness by this prison inmate? I mean, it would make sense. However, I don't know why he would wait years to say anything, but anyways. Yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment below your thoughts. So again, thank you guys for watching.
Here I am in this crowded room. I try to smile, but all I do is think of you. I look around for your smiling face, 'cause without you, this room's just an empty place. But I'm okay, I'm doing fine. I got myself and a good life, but every thought is of you, and I can't be without you. So come inside, take a breath, and I hope you will not forget that I love you, and I feel that no matter what, I always will. You're my life. you're not here. That is something I can't take. I need you now more than I ever have before. I don't know if I can take this anymore, but I'm okay, I'm doing fine. I got myself and a good life, but every thought is of you, and I can't be without you. Come inside, take a breath, and I hope you will not forget that I love you, and I feel no matter what, I always will. You're my life till the end of time. If you can't find your way back home, I'll be there for you to show you the way. And I will give you everything I own. And I will be here to stay. Come inside, take a breath, and I hope you will not forget that I love you, and I feel no matter what, I always will. You're my life till the end of time. You're always on my mind. You're always on my mind till the end of time. You're always on my mind.
Going crazy, my heart is breaking. I can't sleep at all. Trying to get through this, don't know how